Hold up. Why do they doubt the kid? I'm about to prove them all wrong again. I got a low tolerance, cause they don't even know what the problem is. It's me. You waiting on the boy to fail, then hold your breath and face your death. Cause you play a roulette with each step. I progress, no less. Go ahead and place your bet.
Welcome back, yo. This is the Double M Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jesus Dinero, here with my co-host,
Puma El Gato.
What do we got going on tonight, my man?
Aftermath in his match against Canelo Alvarez, Terence Crawford has been drawing comparisons to Floyd Money Mayweather. Now, let's talk about it.
So listen, I've seen a number of different people, even Canelo himself, kind of giving their take on whether, Terence Crawford is better than Floyd, if he's as good as Floyd, the GOAT, so on and so forth. So I felt like we needed to talk about it. Look, man, if I'm being honest with you, it depends on what metric you're using. So obviously this is going to be super biased. Some people consider being undisputed a big metric. Floyd was never undisputed in any division. Yes, he held belts, but he was never undisputed, never held all four major belts at one time. So if that's a metric, then yeah, obviously Terence Crawford 3 times undisputed in 3 different weight classes. That's definitely a notable thing to put in Terence Crawford's column. If you're going by undefeated, well, Floyd has more undefeated matches than does a Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford would be 42-0, Mayweather being 50-0. So obviously that would go to Floyd Mayweather. I think the overall argument that people are trying to get to is who is really the better boxer between these two. And I'm going to be honest with you, man. I kind of prefer Terence Crawford's style. That being said, I don't think you can compare him to Floyd. Floyd fought way more top-tier talent than did a Terence Crawford. Now, obviously, there's some question as to when he fought them, but he did fight way more credible champions than did in Terence Crawford. If I'm not mistaken, in all, Floyd Money Mayweather fought a total of 23 former or current champions. Painted quite the resume with all the different names that he got on that particular resume. Oscar De La Hoya, the Manny Pacquiao's, the Canelo Alvarez's. You could go on and on and on. So as far as who has the more reputable and who is the better fighter, again, it's going to come down to your specific preference of what, particular avenue or what particular criteria you use to determine that. But I'll be honest with you, personally, I don't think Terence Crawford is better than Floyd Mayweather. I know Canelo Alvarez said that in the ring. If I'm being honest with you, and I'm always going to keep it honest about these types of things, there's always a bit of saltiness I feel that Canelo has towards Floyd Mayweather. Obviously after that schooling that Floyd Mayweather gave back to Canelo back when Canelo was 23, so 12 years ago. So I always feel there's a bit of saltiness behind any time that Canelo brings up Floyd Mayweather. He obviously acknowledges how great of a boxer Floyd is, but other than that, I don't think he has that much love for him. I think looking at the totality of the career of Floyd Mayweather, whether you like the man or not, the number of people that he fought, the individuals that he fought, the accolades, all that good stuff. I think if you just combine it all into one master list and not use one specific criteria over the other, I think Floyd Mayweather is years and years and years ahead of Terence Crawford. I'm not going to get into the commercial success. Obviously, Floyd will win in that. But if you just measure it just strictly on the boxing accolades, I do believe that Floyd Mayweather is more of a true champion than would be a Terence Crawford if these two were ever to meet up. Again, I know obviously Terence Crawford 3 times undisputed, 3 different weight classes, all that good stuff, but just all the things that Floyd has done, I think all those things put together, the pay-per-views, the number of different opponents that he faced, the level of competition that he faced throughout the years, remaining undefeated, I think overall Floyd Mayweather just brings the better overall package as to who would really have the claim to GOAT over the other if it was between him and Terence Crawford. Now, if they were to fight, I mean, obviously that's an interesting question. I would still personally pick Floyd just because I don't think Floyd would engage as much as Terence Crawford would want him to engage. All the people that Terence Crawford has fought, if you look at them, they've all engaged him, whether it was Canelo, whether it was Sean Porter, Benavidez, Jose Benavidez, all these guys, even Errol Spence, even though he got extremely schooled. All those people were fighters that went in there to engage Terence Crawford. I don't think Floyd would engage him, so that's why my personal pick would be Floyd. But again, listen, I think they're a little bit hilarious of a comparison between Floyd and Terence Crawford, simply because if we're just going off just the overall impact to the boxing game, the overall amount of fights, the caliber of the fights, the individuals that he fought, all that, I think Floyd is years and years ahead of where Terence Crawford is. I'm not trying to put down Terence Crawford by any means. Terence Crawford, phenomenal, great in his own accolades, phenomenal. Again, 3 times undisputed, 3 different weight classes, all that good stuff. I'm not putting Terence Crawford down in any way. But Floyd Money Mayweather is vastly the better fighter with the better resume overall. What do you think about that, my man?
You know, it's funny to think that Floyd Mayweather could have actually achieved probably on par with Terence Crawford. I think there could have been a chance that he could have gotten at least one undisputed record, but it just, A, it wasn't in his plan, and B, getting the belt was a consequence of what he was actually looking for as opposed to the main goal, which I think the MO for these fighters, I do think both of them share a lot of parallels. The parallels where it trails off is their MO when it comes to their fighting. Terence Crawford always seems like a man that had a very competitive spirit, and that kind of fueled his goal of actually becoming, getting more and more belts, getting more accolades, getting more of the prestige in boxing. Floyd was never that person. It was a long time quote where Floyd Mayweather said, "My children can't eat the belt." And I think that fed into it. I think Floyd was looking for more lucrative fights, more money, more marquee value in his fights. That way he can rack up more money. Now, I'm not saying that to dispute his accolades whatsoever. Whether your goal of getting, I want the belt versus I want as much money as I can, if the obstacle in front of you is a Manny Pacquiao, a Zab Judah, Oscar De La Hoya, Juan Manuel Marquez, Canelo Alvarez, if they're the obstacle and whether your goals are different, I can't be mad about that. No matter if you did it for gold or money, if your obstacles, Canelo Alvarez, Oscar De La Hoya, Juan Manuel Marquez, any of those people, I can't be mad. You still beat them. Like, your motives doesn't really change and all that. So that being said, Floyd Mayweather, I don't think he couldn't have. It's just that wasn't his main goal. His main goal was always to get money. That being said, I do think as far as the resume, as far as the quiet accolades, I mean, not quiet, but rather the accolades that nobody pays that much attention to when it comes to records, the win streaks, the resume, I do think Floyd Mayweather does have that in spades. His resume was heavier than Terence Crawford, but I don't necessarily think that's Terence Crawford's problem. I mean, I do think Floyd Mayweather's era of boxing had a lot more heavier fighters, a lot more of a heavier roster. I do think that was a golden era when it comes to boxing right after the 1980s. So to say, yeah, Terence Crawford doesn't really have that much heavier resume, I was like, yeah, but that's not really Terence Crawford's fault. That's just the era that he happens to find himself in. Meanwhile, I do think if you're going to hard etch yourself as a boxer to say, I gained as much prestige and titles as I can, I think Terence Crawford actually beats him in spades. The fact that Terence Crawford was able to get 3 undisputed titles in, middleweight, welterweight, and I think it was what's one under welterweight? Super lightweight? Super middleweight. That kind of achievement, the fact that you got 3 undisputed titles, hasn't been achieved since the 30s, which in and of itself, that's pretty crazy to think about. Like, I know we talked about that Alexander Usyk is one of the first fighters in 20 years to finally get the undisputed title at heavyweight. Everybody was talking about that as a monumental achievement, but weirdly enough, nobody's talking about the fact that Terence Crawford has won something that hasn't been won since the 30s. Like, that's pretty monumental in and of itself. That's a quiet thing that I've not seen one person talk about. That's a huge achievement that Terence Crawford basically got out of pure ignorance. He probably didn't think that he didn't have the achievement. But guess what? He does. And it's that sort of thing where, as far as prestige goes, Terence Crawford hard etched himself into the annals of the boxing greats. And keep in mind, he is one of the greats. But I do think when it comes to direct competition, I do think Floyd could have achieved that, but that wasn't who he was. That wasn't his main goal. That wasn't what he was set out to do. Getting a belt was just a consequence of what he wanted in the first place, which was money. But again, as far as that, I do think Floyd would be better as far as the competition aspects. But as far as actually etching himself into one of the boxing's most accomplished boxers, Terence Crawford would have him in spades for that. So I don't think it's unfair to compare the two. But I do think as far as who is the better boxer achievement-wise, I'm not going to lie, I would favor more Terence Crawford than a Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, man. I think that's where we're gonna have to disagree. Only because, again, yes, hasn't been done since the 1930s. Phenomenal, all that good stuff. But listen, man, I've said this over and over again. You can become undisputed in any weight class because some weight classes they just don't have a deep bench. They don't have a phenomenal talent pool, and that's not to be disrespectful. It's just some weight classes are a little bit more full of just phenomenal talent. So I agree with you that yes, Terence Crawford is obviously a phenomenal boxer, great boxer, legendary, etched himself in history, 3 times undisputed, 3 different weight classes, first man to do it in the first in the 4-belt era, all that good stuff. But again, the talent pool that Floyd Mayweather faced is just far and beyond what I believe Terence Crawford could have ever did face. And yes, I do agree with you that more than likely Mayweather did or could have potentially become undisputed in any of the weight classes where he competed. The only difference is that, like you said, is that Floyd Mayweather just didn't care about it. Didn't care about the belts. He wanted money. And listen, I actually respect it. I understand, what he said when you can't eat the belts, my kids don't eat legacy, all that good stuff. I completely agree. At the end of the day, these boxers, they retire, generally speaking, before they're 40, just because that's when you're considered an old boxer. So if they took care of themselves, which people like Floyd do take care of themselves, you have easily another 30, 40 years ahead of you. And if you're not going to be boxing for literally half of your life, you got to make sure that your situation outside the ring is set up. So, I think people are going to debate this no matter what. It's one of those things where everyone's going to pick their particular favorite boxer. I think it's just one of those concepts where people are going to get more and more entrenched in their particular view. But listen, Floyd is by no means anywhere close to my favorite boxer, but I would be lying if I didn't say that I personally believe that this man had more accolades than did a Terence Crawford, simply because of the individuals that he faced. If we're just going purely off of accolades, as far as the titles, obviously Terence Crawford has that in spades. But I just think that the resume of Mayweather just has a much deeper bench, more reputable names, more championship names, all that good stuff. Some of the best. And I mean, Max Kellerman just put Manny Pacquiao as his pound for pound number 1. And if you go by that, I mean, Floyd schooled him. Floyd schooled Manny Pacquiao like nobody else. So that being said, listen, again, the debate's going to go on. Everyone's going to have their own opinion. Go ahead and tell us who you think is better down in the comments, whether you think Floyd Mayweather is better, whether you think Terence Crawford is better, and give us your reasons why you think that. And with that, make sure to like, comment, hate, subscribe, DM us about the bullshit, and
until next time, get rest and stay blessed. We'll see you in the next one.